All right. Anything else we need to grill her about the Marine Corps before we get into like how to get her biceps?
Man, I think that's what the people want.
That's
people
all I want to hear.
Yeah, I think that's what the people want.
That's what people want. That's what people want. That's all Jordy was like.
You do. You really
Jordy
do.
was like, Nova's coming on? Like Jack Nova? And I was like, yes, like Jack Nova.
I'm like, hell yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'll tell you my like background with Nova. Mike Minigal, first lieutenant, deployed downrange right now on the 11th or 15th. 15th MEU.
Great MEU.
Finally, the boxer finally got fixed.
Yeah, finally departed.
He's out to sea. Got a little baby at home and wife. Hope they're doing well. But anyway, he was working at the gym, joined the Marine Corps, left COVID times, comes back, and he tells me like, hey, there's this chick, like she's super strong. You should get her up at the gym. I'm like, hey, let's come up and let's lift. And I'm just thinking like, you know, when in my mind, when someone tells me a female is super strong, I'm like, if you can deadlift 315 as a female, like you're super strong. And I think you missed 405 that day, like got it just above. Yeah, I did. Just above the knee.
Yeah.
But it was close. And like you had just done 385 or something. And I was like, wow, she's like really strong. And then don't let me put words in your mouth, but I'll tell you how it is to me. You were kind of like going down the powerlifting thing for a little while and you competed last year. And then now you've kind of transitioned to CrossFit. Like just talk us about like fitness is obviously a huge part of your life. It's probably helped you be very successful as a Marine officer because man or female, if you can out PT all your guys, there's value there no matter if you're a nerd or what you are. So like, just tell us kind of like your fitness journey and like, you know, your powerlifting days. And I can say that because I know you did at least one meet and then now you seem very into CrossFit. Like what's up with that?
Yeah. So, I guess so. I kind of experimented with CrossFit. I played lacrosse in college, and I kind of dabbled in CrossFit for a little bit there. Nothing serious, kind of just like messing around, trying to pretend to be strongish, which I wasn't very strong at the time. So like everything was super frustrating. So yeah, I did that for a little bit, and then kind of transitioned to Strongman for quite a few years there.
Would that be strong woman?
Prior,
to be fair,
yeah, strong woman, whatever. Yeah.
Sure. Fire control woman.
Yeah, sure. So did that for a pretty decent amount of time, competed quite a few times in that, went to nationals, got super humbled because those women they can move some weight.
Wait, so like you qualified and went to nationals?
Wow. I did, yeah.
Okay. And what pause story. What lifts did you do? How did you place? That's interesting.
That's legit.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, there was a sandbag toss. So you had to do increasing weights, and you had to toss it over. I forget the height of it, but a height of a bar basically. There was a log clean and press, a yoke carry. I believe there was a farmer's carry, and then a deadlift.
What are the numbers on those to qualify?
So you can qualify through different state competitions. So I wasn't even like nationals was not even in my purview. I just like competed at a state comp and then they were like, oh, you won. Also, you can go to nationals now. And I was like, cool. What state? I think that one that I did was actually North Carolina, which ironically, do you know Nancy Johnson?
Does she run USPA out here?
So no, so she's like super big in the strongman community, but was a prior Marine.
No, I don't. I should look her up.
She's putting up crazy numbers. And my only claim to fame is like beating her in that North Carolina competition when she was like still in the Marine Corps and like not as strong as she is now. But yeah, so I qualified there. And then I ended up going to nationals. I think it was the same year.
Nancy Johnson looks jacked.
She's huge. She's such an animal.
I gotta look it up.
Can we get her on the podcast?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure she'd love to come on. Cool. Yeah. Cause I mean, prior Marine, total PT stud. Like she was, running 300. Wow. She's the real deal.
So you beat her, your first claim to fame.
I did by happenstance.
Okay.
What?
So yeah, did that for a while. Competed at nationals. I think I came in, I don't even know. I think maybe like 6th or 7th in my like weight class.
Out of
maybe maybe like
20,
16, 20, somewhere in there.
top of the middle of the pack. We're seeing a trend here.
Yeah, just a trend.
Good place to be. Good place to be.
I really like to be consistent.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, and then did that for a little while until I joined the Marine Corps. Kind of got away from like anything specific. Did a lot of like power building, kind of just to get my strength up, and then met Mike and kind of started working out more with him. And obviously he's kind of more aligned to like the powerlifting realm. Yep. So he actually taught me how to squat better, which I'm forever thankful for because my squat was trash.
It was only 315.
So yeah, so he helped me a bunch with that. And then he kind of like somehow managed to convince me to do a powerlifting meet. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like whatever.
Did you go 9 for 9
so did that.
or what were your, like, what did you do?
No,
I think you missed some lifts if I remember.
I missed a squat and I think it was just a squat that I missed.
Did you like fail it or get lighted for depth or?
No, I failed. Okay. I failed my last squat.
Yeah. What was your squat there? Do you remember?
I think it was like 298.
Okay, that you got.
I want to say, yeah, that I got.
And your bench?
And then after that, bench was 206. I think. Okay.
That's good.
I want to say.
You pulled 400?
No, I didn't pull 400. I think I pulled like 395.
Okay, so right in there. Solid. Yeah. Okay.
That's strong. So right in there.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. We can bump those numbers up, I feel like.
Rookie numbers.
Rookie numbers. But yeah, so I enjoyed that. I will say, like, I have a pretty, like, ADHD mind. So I think CrossFit kind of lends itself more to my stimulus. So over deployment, I kind of was just doing the power build thing. I was building my own programming, and just kind of trying to see where I could get with that strength wise over deployment. And then while I was on deployment, I ended up just dropping into a CrossFit gym, on base, and I just really like enjoyed it and missed it. And I was putting up like pretty decent numbers, like clean and jerk and, snatch and all that. So I was like, oh, maybe I should dabble a little bit more in that. So yeah, that's kind of where the path has taken me at this point. And yeah, so I'm kind of trying to see where that goes. I'd like to be competitive in it, but I don't know.
What's your best clean and jerk?
My best right now is 235.
That's pretty good. What's your best snatch?
Best snatch, snatch is a little iffy.
Tough.
But 175.
Okay, wow. That's good. Those are good numbers.
Yeah.
That's good.
So are you thinking about?
Yeah, we're working on it.
Are you thinking about doing like a CrossFit competition in which those two lifts, amongst other things, are incorporated? Or are you thinking like, hey, I've done the super specific powerlifting thing. Maybe I do a weightlifting competition.
I've kind of thought about it, the weightlifting side. I just really I get really bored with that, with like the like being stagnant and just doing
the rigidity, single
lifts. Yeah. So I just went through the qualifying process for the Japan championship, which goes out in November. And I think I got second, for the qualifiers. So I'll be competing in that in November.
In Japan.
In Japan.
Okay. And what do those consist of? Like what exercises?
So general CrossFit, they haven't released any of the workouts, but the workouts for the qualifiers, consisted of anything. One of them was, like 100 double unders, and then into, 25 wall balls, 25 lunges, 100 double unders, wall balls, lunges, and then 100 double unders.
Okay.
So that was just one of them.
I feel like Jeff might have some specific what CrossFit movements. Jeff.
Oh yeah, no,
Jeff
that's the question that's in my head. Is like, okay, like, boom, workout comes out on the whiteboard, and what goes up, and you're like, hell yeah, I can do this all day. And then what is like, shit, this is gonna be a rough one.
So yeah, anything with a power clean, anything overhead. Like if I can get it to my shoulders, it's going overhead. Okay. That's like kind of my jam. Honestly, like ring muscle ups have been pretty good for me recently. So really enjoying those. Anything related to overhead squatting, Long running, yeah, you can count me out of that.
I'm gonna scale this one to something else. I'm gonna scale it to power cleans.
Yeah.
So, and I should know this. I'm gonna really out myself here. 3 mile for a female, still 18 minutes.
I don't think so.
It is 21 minutes
to max.
Oh, I didn't.
Okay,
max.
good. I thought it was different. I didn't know what it was. So, what do you run?
Yep, 21. So I run anywhere between, like, depending on if it's a good day, anywhere between like a 22 and a 23:30.
Okay,
solid.
Okay, so that's what I run, but my standard's 18. So your score's a lot higher. Yeah.
But you know, we're old broken
in pain,
field mates,
like in true
grades.
pain.
Yeah, exactly. Broken field grade. Any questions for on CrossFit, PJ?
On CrossFit? No, I don't have any CrossFit questions. Yeah.
I guess what prompts you to switch from strongman to powerlifting? Is it just, hey, I'm getting tired of this and then want to try something new, or is it something like you meet somebody and they kind of talk you into it and you get hooked? Or
Not really. I think like strongman was fun. I just didn't feel like I truly like enjoyed it enough to continue with it. Like I like some of the movements in there for sure, but I just wasn't like super overly passionate about it. Same with powerlifting. I never really like looked at powerlifting. I'm like, oh yeah, like I want to.
So it seems like all these things kind of led you to CrossFit.
Yeah.
Is what it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Or like back around to CrossFit at least. Cause now it's like, now I'm a little bit stronger. So it's more fun, obviously, when you're stronger.
Yeah.
Because you can put up some pretty cool numbers and stuff like that, and like do a lot of like the cool tricks, so like, you know, muscle ups and handstand walks and, you know, all the shenanigans that come along with it. But yeah, I think it's just like a stimulation thing for me as well. Like I like to be entertained when I'm working out, and I think CrossFit just keeps me guessing, and like it just shows me how bad I am at like everything.
Yeah, it's very humbling.
But you started with CrossFit, correct?
A little bit, yeah. So I dabbled a little bit.
But then like powerlifting and strongman kind of allowed you to have a pretty good base to kind of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
much did that prepare you for CrossFit? I know it's a lot different doing powerlifting or power building workouts in a CrossFit workout. Did you feel, how much did that carry over?
I think a lot of it carried over. I think a lot of like the core strength that you get from powerlifting, from strongman, I think that lends itself really well to CrossFit. Just because if you have a strong core, like a lot of those big lifts and a lot of stability obviously comes and is driven from that. So I think that working a lot of those heavier movements, like heavy yoke, you know, log, clean and jerk, like, and then just general, obviously squatting, and then, you know, deadlift as well. Like all of those combined work to build that core. Obviously if you're doing it right. So I think that lent itself really well to kind of transitioning over to
So
CrossFit.
if one more, man. So if you had a new person trying to get into CrossFit, then you would probably push them towards, hey, I would start building a base doing these essential movements first.
Yeah, for sure. Before you do any of the stupid like flailing around, you know, pull-ups on the bar and stuff, like you gotta have the strict base.
Yeah.
Like you can't just like get up there and just like fling around and hope for the best. Like you gotta have a good set of pull-ups. You gotta have a strong base when you're squatting. You gotta have a good strict overhead press. Like those are the big things that I would definitely push before they start doing any of like the dumb shit.
I knew you were based. That's what I was going to ask is, do you keep in so you're CrossFitting a bunch, and I want to talk to you a little bit about like your social media stuff here in a second, but do you keep like a strength training baseline that you overlay CrossFit on top of? Or are you just like, hey, if the WOD says work up to a heavy double, I'll work up to a heavy double? Or you're like, no, I will squat 5x5 the first day of the week? Or like, how do you think about knowing how important getting strong was to make you good at CrossFit? Like, do you try to keep that, or are you just like, hey, what the whiteboard says I'll do?
So I did align myself with a coach because I didn't know how to work myself appropriately in CrossFit. Yeah. So I work with Golden Line Training. And I only started working with him about a month and a half ago. So his kind of assessment, he did kind of like an initial like strength assessment with like where I kind of was standing strength wise. And mostly what we now focus on is building my engine, because that's kind of where I kind of have a downfall. So like he's like, yeah, you have a strong base for actual strength, that like I've built previously. So now it's kind of trying to round out the package with, you know, getting a better engine, developing that, and then developing kind of like the more technical moves. So throughout training, like there's definitely like, yeah, we're front squatting. Yes, we're back squatting. Yes, we're doing, you know, strict overhead press, or some type of pressing to kind of maintain that strength capability. But then just because I do have a little bit of a stronger base, it's now kind of trying to round that out.
When you say engine, are you talking like work capacity? Okay.
Yeah, like work capacity and being able to work longer and more efficiently during those workouts.
Okay. I want to ask you some nutrition stuff and like body fat stuff, but first, what's your top overhead press? Because I always say I've only seen, and I want to make sure this is right, and I will leave out like weird stuff on the Arnold stage for competition, but in terms of training people, I've only seen 3 women press 135 overhead. I don't mean that as a knock against women. I just mean,
no, it's great.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Like, I assume you can press 135. Yeah.
I can.
What's your top press? That's what I was getting at.
180.
PJ's like just shrinking in his chair over there.
I got you by a hair.
I gotta go do some overhead press. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Mine's 185. I got you by a hair.
No, that's impressive. It doesn't really count if you do it with those rubber Chinese plates, but if you do it at the Strength Co., you have an open invitation anytime to go up to the Costa Mesa gym and film it. I'll give you some t-shirts.
I'm gonna have to do that.
You got to hit 185, get the 25s on there, round it out.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I know.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah.
If you're listening and you don't lift weights, which means you're not listening, but yeah, 135. It's like I haven't seen many females do that. Like that is an incredible.
Yeah.
And
incredible.
and I say bigger girls, not like they're overweight, but even like tall girl, because a lot of it's so relevant to overall body weight, right? And so it's like, it's just a really tough thing for females to get. We were talking about it earlier on the show before you came on about just like a novice linear progression for a beginner and what stalls for women. Well, what stalls for women and men is the press and the bench. But with women, it shuts off, and it's because you have breast, which means that you have a lot of body fat on your upper body, whereas guys, it's all muscle. And so it's just a really tough lift. 180, man, that's incredible. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so I've seen like a shift maybe in the last few weeks. I follow you. If you don't follow her, it's at Nova Sky. We'll give you a chance to plug yourself at the end. But you upgraded your camera.
I did.
You're like, I appreciate this because I sell plates for a living, right? So we're always trying to come up with media. Hey, how can we showcase things? But I'll give a guess in my head and you can say, but over the last month, your page has drastically changed from like, hey, I'm Nova, I'm a Marine and I lift weights and like follow me if you're my friend, to I don't know what, but like the media, like it's like, what are you, not that you're after anything, but like what are you doing? Because it's definitely different, like the last month or so.
What's the end goal?
I don't really know.
To be frank, like I think it's awesome.
I don't know. I don't really know if I necessarily have a goal with it. I do really appreciate like cool media. And I do love a good, motivational workout cut. I think they're super cool. I kind of nerd out on them. They fill up my For You page. So, I guess kind of inspired by that. And then I've been doing a lot of training, with, this girl, Katie Jones.
I was going to ask you about her. She's a big deal.
Yeah, big deal. Super cool girl, super strong. But I just, by happenstance, ended up joining a gym that she actually works out of. And we just kind of hit it off. And so she honestly, she kind of just took a couple clips of me the first go around, and she was like, you should like kind of do more of this. Like, it's cool. People like it. So I think that kind of drove me a little bit, and I did like it. It was cool. And it's fun to mess around with. And I think like I spend so much of my time in the gym that I think it's cool to share. And if it inspires someone, or if it, inspires Marines, inspires, whoever, I think it's cool to put out there, and, I don't know, it's fun to showcase.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a nerd question?
Yeah.
All right. So as the guy doing the cameras here, what's the camera that you're using?
Nerd.
Oh, I'm using
Bunch of
the
dorks.
Canon EOS 50.
Oh yeah. Easy.
EOS 50.
Yeah. It's a good piece of gear.
It's good. It's really good. So that camera, that's like a good like base model Canon. I would
Okay.
call it. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
It's stupid proof.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. No, sometimes those are the best things. These mics right here are what I would call stupid proof, and I chose them for a reason. Like
Yeah.
you could chuck these out the 2-story window right now,
Grant.
and you could pick them up, and they still work. So I love them.
So
You're like, oh, perfect.
is it like a nifty 50 lens? It's a 50 millimeter.
No, it's not. That's the body.
Okay.
I would say that it's like maybe a step below that. Yes.
And
OSR.
the lens is fixed.
I actually don't know. Is the lens attached, like fixed to it, or can you change the lenses on that?
No, you can change out the lenses. So I just have like the base lens at the moment. I'm probably going to upgrade to one that kind of like auto focuses on exactly like the person that you're
Does it
filming.
not have autofocus?
It does, but I like the blurring effect usually in the background
Oh, yeah.
if there's like people around and stuff. I think it kind of pixelates an
an
ambiance.
An f 2.8 or lower. That's what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you
Ten-
like set it up?
dork.
Do you set it up on a camera and film it yourself?
She puts it on the donkey dick, and then it stabilizes it.
And then it's just go to the bathroom. It's there. It's easily accessible.
Yeah.
It's,
Two
it's
for
win-win for
one.
all.
Yeah.
Multi-purpose, I'm telling you.
She cleans her guns at home.
Yeah, it's
like,
great.
But do you film everything and edit everything yourself?
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
for the most part, yes. Sometimes like Katie will like film some of the more moving pieces if we're there at the same time. And then, vice versa for her. But yeah, usually I'll just tripod it and, set it up, make sure the angle's not terrible, and then kind of edit it together at
Okay.
the end.
And what gym are you at?
So I'm at Left Coast CrossFit.
What city?
It's up in, I guess, like Laguna Niguel area. So it's like 15 minutes from me. It's honestly one of the dopest gyms I've ever been in.
Dope.
All right.
Yeah, it's
I'll have
crazy.
to come out and work out there. Do they need some USA Iron?
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
You have to
Yeah.
hook me
Just
up
up
with
to
that.
5.
Everyone needs
Yeah,
that.
everyone needs that. No, that's cool. It's cool. And what you said about like inspiring Marines, when I'll be 100% honest, when I started doing YouTube stuff, I did not do it for Marines. I did it to sell more plates. And it's funny now,
Yeah.
as a battery commander, I had a sergeant section chief come up to me and he's like, "Hey sir, I was home the other day and I've been trying to lift weights and like you popped up on my YouTube feed." And I was like, "Awesome." He's like, "No, I bought the book Starting Strength." He's like, "And I'm running it." And I was like, "Hey, we're on the field. We'll have no time this drill, but like August is a home site. Like I'll take you in." But it was kind of cool that like, here's the thing that's like every person, but every Marine needs to be stronger. And it's like, wow, you're starting to reach that. And it's just, that's a whole nother topic, but it's just funny, like Gen Z and like the youth of our current Marines, because they're like, "Sir, I looked up your Strength Coach YouTube. You got hella followers."
Hella
And
followers.
I'm like that.
Hella
and they're like, "You're
followers."
awesome." I'm like, "That's why you think I'm awesome?" Like,
Look at
You're
that
like,
YouTube.
that's why I'm equated to being awesome.
I didn't know that's what it took, but
I
this
can't wait for your
mustache.
YouTube channel. Can't wait for the YouTube channel. Feel like a lot of women would like that.
Yeah.
Men too, probably.
we'll have to do a workout vlog next time I'm there.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Oh, yeah.
Come up and we'll train. You can overhead press more than me or something like that.
I gotta get one. So I remember living with Grant. I think you were like in the process of getting certified for starting strength to be a coach. And I think it like fell, maybe it was, what was the 29 palms exercise in December?
Steel Night.
Steel Night.
Steel Night.
Steel
I think
Night.
it fell like right in the middle of Steel Night, and it was like the worst timing of it because it was like you're in the middle of training, kind of doing everything you're supposed to do, but it's like this 2-week field op. So how much of field ops get in the way, and kind of what do you do whenever, I guess, for the Marines out there to kind of keep something going, or keep, I don't know, do you take a pause? What do you deload? I don't know. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just depends on kind of like how long, obviously, the field op is. If you're out in, SLT and it's one of those extended ones and you're not actually out in the field, you're like, on Camp Wilson or something, like they have gyms. There's plenty of opportunity to kind of just maintain. You're not trying to get crazy and do anything wild, but just maintenance basically. But yeah, I mean, if it's anything for like a few days or, even like a week, I'll kind of just let that be my time, because I don't really take deloads. So I'll let that be my time to kind of just like refit, come out of the field a little, like feeling a little bit stronger.
Get plenty of sleep.
And just gotta give myself, get plenty of sleep, depending. Eat
really good.
Probably. Eat some MREs, like actually get the caloric count up there. Right. But yeah, usually I use that as my deload. Everyone kind of freaks out about it and they're like, I'm gonna lose my gains. I'm like, like you'll be fine, bro. Like it'll be good.
It's the same as like, and obviously a trip I just got back from a 5-day field op, which in the reserves is long. It's not a vacation, but it's the same thing if you're like coaching someone. It's like, hey, I'm going to Hawaii for 5 days. What should I do? And I'm like, enjoy Hawaii.
Enjoy your trip.
Like have a great time. Be consistent when you're home and you'll be fine. Like you're not going to lose all your gains.
No.
Roll real quick. Favorite MRE.
Ooh, I was going to ask that. Nice. Love it.
There's only one right answer.
True.
I feel like that's fall.
I feel like it's too.
I like whatever the chicken bowl one is.
Oh, I thought you were going to say chicken pesto pasta.
Not that one.
Chicken burrito
bowl? No, it's
that one's not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Good. That's the one. Yeah. That one's good.
What's the worst one?
I like that one. Oh God, the fettuccine.
Oh, you hate that one?
Fettuccine Alfredo. Oh,
I hate the maple sausage one because like it
What?
always drips all over
That one's
you,
good.
and it's like hard to make it work out. Yeah.
It's real sensual. Jeez.
So speaking of healthy nutrition, so people will leave this. We'll link your Instagram in the show notes. They'll go follow you. You're like shredded. Like, what's your body fat percentage?
Thank you. I have no idea.
Okay. But like every muscle's visible. Like how much of your like, are you a psycho about nutrition? Or are you one of those people that's like, nah, I eat a California burrito every day for lunch at Ramon's and everything's fine?
Ramon's.
No. No, I'm not like that. I luckily have grown up with a really good base. Like my mom was a super foodie. Okay. So she always, bought local and had a lot of vegetables and all that shenanigans. So I come from that baseline. And I've really just kind of continued that, into adulthood and what have you. I do track my macros. Obviously the biggest one that I'm trying to hit every single day and fighting for my life is protein. Because, around body weight protein. So I'm trying to intake at least 165 grams, which is a job in itself. But I really just track everything that I eat. And I do eat pretty clean anyway. So, I mean, like if I'm having, Chick-fil-A one day of the week, like, I track it and just make sure that like everything kind of aligns.
So you track every day, no matter what. You don't like track for a while. Then you're like, hey, now I know what a cup of ranch is. Like every day you're inputting into, do you use like MyFitnessPal or what do you use?
Yeah, I use MyFitnessPal. Yeah. I mean, so I'm not to be fooled here. Like I haven't tracked. So I've started tracking again religiously, probably now for like a month and a half. So same time frame that I've been working with my coach. But prior to that, like on deployment, I didn't track anything. I was just eating for pleasure. Like I'm a big foodie. I love food. As long as it's balanced out with what I'm doing and like the output capacity, like I'm generally pretty fine. And I know what foods kind of make me feel like shit and perform badly. So, excuse me, just kind of being in tune with like how I feel versus like, exactly what I'm eating. I don't get too
So you think output versus input though? Like that's cause that's the thing in my head that's hard to teach people. I'm like, well, if I'm just sitting and I'm not training, like I definitely don't need as much. And got it. Yeah.
That's kind of exactly how I frame it in my mind. I'm like, I mean, and that's also dependent, right? Because like what I've noticed, I'm sure you kind of notice as well. Like if you take rest days, generally I find it harder to eat on rest days because I'm not moving as much, but I also will still like, I won't eat probably as much as I do. And then I kind of feel it the next day where I'm like, oh, okay. Like I definitely feel like an energy depletion because I didn't get exactly what I needed in the day before.
Right. Okay. Quick little question here. So yeah, this is my cat Calhoun. He doesn't worry about energy output or input.
He's on a perma.
He's not tracking his macros. Yeah,
he's not tracking his macros.
What if he was?
You have Marine. Yeah, you have Marine. He's carnivore though.
Smart.
Nova, you'll appreciate that. Like literally, we just feed him ground turkey and chicken.
He loves that.
So you have Marine comes to you. They're corporal. They're 22% body fat. They're 20 pounds overweight. You're getting past your platoon commander days. But like you have this like Marine, not like a total fat ass, but like overweight, over body fat. Like what do you tell them? Like what's your advice? Because I feel like the Marine Corps answer is, hey, put them on BCP, and the battalion duty will PT you every day at lunch. And then they run around or whatever. But like when you have Marines, because we've all had these Marines that are like slightly out of standards, but like hugely great performers. Like what's your like, hey, this is what you need to do.
So kind of how I've approached that in the past, it like you said, it really kind of depends on like, and I don't want to necessarily always link it to performance, but I feel like it like, your willingness to help a certain Marine, right, generally is based on like, how well they're performing, right? So it kind of depends on that. Like if they're already showing you a step right by coming to you and being like, hey, like, what do I do? Like I've tried this, it doesn't work. I tried that, whatever it is, right? So like I always appreciate that, and like I take that into account. And in the past, I've gone with them, and I'm like, hey, walk me through a workout that you do. Like, let's go work out. I'm not going to say anything. Let's do what you do. See what that is. So I'm looking at how they're actually working out, because like, obviously if they're coming in, they're saying like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm not getting any results. I'm like, okay. I'm like, let me see what you're actually doing. Like, walk me through your workout. Let's go run a workout together. And then I'll kind of baseline. Okay. So this is really what they're doing. Like, ultimately they're not working that hard. Let's kind of elevate that and start pushing them into, a little bit of uncomfortable levels. I think in the Marine Corps, we always kind of associate fitness with running.
Yep.
And as much as I don't like running, like it's a necessary evil for everything that we do. You need to be able to run under load. You need to be able to ruck. You need to be able to do well on a PFT, CFT. So like that is all a factor, but I don't think it should be the sole thing of like, hey, we need to go out on like a 4-mile run. Like, let's like get you into the weight room. Let's figure out where you can kind of, lose some of that weight while also still maintaining like, there'll be runs, but like, let's work through what that looks like in the weight room. Cause maybe you just don't know what you're doing in there and you're not doing it effectively. So if we make some tweaks, add some stuff, subtract some of the dumb shit, then let's see going forward, building, a program kind of specific to you, what we can accomplish from that.
Okay.
And then obviously like the nutrition part as well. Like, hey, what are you eating? What are you drinking on the weekends? Are you going out and getting smashed Friday through Sunday? Because like, obviously that does play a giant role into like a lot of these guys' lives that they don't necessarily think about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I approach it.
No, it's interesting.
I have a follow on if you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So kind of tacking onto that, and you're clearly in shape. It seems like you've kind of explored all of the different avenues of fitness, or at least a lot of them. If someone was coming to you, maybe one of those Marines or something, and they said, hey, I really want to get stronger. I just want to focus on like strength. Or if someone says, hey, I really want to build some size and get bigger. What's your general advice for them, or what has worked well for you? And maybe they're the same thing. Maybe they're different, but what's your take on that kind of advice?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like obviously like the body composition that they're coming with as well. So just for example, like one of my sergeants on deployment, he like came to me and he's a stud sergeant, like super squared away. But he wanted to gain some weight and he wanted to gain some mass and size, and strength, obviously. Yeah, he's on the thinner side, not super skinny, but he's on the thinner side. Definitely has a high metabolism. And probably just is not getting the caloric intake that he needs to actually put on size. So I kind of worked with him a little bit over deployment, and like he already kind of knew what he should be hitting. So like, obviously the three big lifts, bench, squat, deadlift, he kind of already had that squared away. But then adding on like the accessories that go along with that to create that actual base strength. And then getting him on a mass gainer, because even though he's eating a decent amount, he still needed that extra add-on for caloric intake. And then always a question of like, hey, are you taking creatine? Mm-hmm. That's always my biggest add-on for anyone who's like, I want to gain size, I want to gain mass, I want to gain strength, is like, hey, are you taking creatine?
Are there reps and sets that you would tell him to do in terms of numbers? Like, hey, you got your big lifts, your big three, you're kind of sticking to the, whatever, the lower reps, I'd say probably maybe. And then the accessories, those are higher, or what seems to work best?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I kind of set him up on was, I think initially I set him up on, like a 5x5. So I worked him through a 5x5, kind of set to see where he was. And then I adjusted the rep scheme depending on the week, with like a deload week. So like, a 4-week kind of program with a deload week in there, fluctuating numbers, but not going higher, than I believe 7. And that was kind of later on when he gained a little bit more strength.
So fairly low.
And then fairly low to kind of build his comfortability at higher weight. And then the accessories were all within like the 8 to 12 range.
Did he gain weight?
And had him work through that. He did.
Yeah, what's he now?
He did gain weight. So he originally, when we got out there, he was almost the exact same body weight as me. He was sitting at like 168. And then he went up to 180 while we're on deployment.
Okay. Solid.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how like on a deployment your training's actually better because there's like so many few, like there's so much less distractions.
So much better.
So much better.